Thank you all, gentlemen, for joining us here at ET House in Davos. It's great to have three different people coming from different sides at the same problem. The topic is from AI ambition to AI scale, the infrastructure that makes it possible. The first question to you, Sylvan, is AI is now a boardroom imperative, but infrastructure rarely gets the same attention. When does infrastructure readiness becomes a CEO level risk rather than just a CIO issue?
So infrastructure is super critical at a company level to build the right infrastructure with the right partners. And we see different directions taken in different parts of the world. Some parts of the world which are using US infrastructure, Chinese infrastructure, other parts which are building their own infrastructure. And I think India is pushing into this direction very forcefully. And this is also inspiring many other countries in the world. But beyond those infrastructure, there are also national level infrastructure which are super critical. Of course, data centers, energy, all these things which are being built. In India, you've been pushing a lot on the digital infrastructure itself, having the standards to make sure that we had many companies who could operate on the digital backbone. You're starting to create AI backbones that will enable all models to work, to be accessible to many. So I think it's a critical topic, both for CEOs at a national level, and I think India is doing a lot with this edge on those very specific digital infrastructure and backbone for the country.
Raju?
So the way I look at digital infrastructure, right, it's not just relevant to India. If you look at for AI model can run as good as the basic infrastructure. You can have great AI models unless you have a great infrastructure, being it network, being it data centers, being it a cloud. It works across the globe, especially a country like in India. Even our physical infrastructure is how many metros you create, still it's going to be lagging. Physical infrastructure is not going to be sufficient for the growth of India expectations. Digital infrastructure is going to play a big role, especially going AI. If you want to be AI player, it's going to be absolutely critical, and it's a fundamental of AI. That is the way I look at it.
Chakri, what are your views?
Yeah, I'll build on what Mr. Raju said, but let me tease out a few things, right? When you talk about infrastructure, first, if I'm a CEO, within the company, there's a lot of infrastructure is required, right? We have a lot of legacy applications, a lot of data that's not yet in the cloud. We have to bring all these legacy applications together, get the data organized for AI to work. So there is the infrastructure that's required. Then there's the whole infrastructure that's required for AI, which is where all the work is going, right? So LLMs, the training of LLMs requires a lot of infrastructure. Here, I have an emerging point of view, which, if you think of LLM models, there's been a lot of pilots done last 2 years. The results have been not so great, right? Everyone is talking about ROI. Our emerging viewpoint is LLMs, for example, large language models that consume a lot of the infrastructure requirements. People have been trying to do 80% of the work in LLMs, in these pilots, whereas 80% of the work needs to be done by the structured data in the enterprise, the applications in the enterprise. So more and more the LLM work is actually going to become less and more of a commoditized. So 20% of the work is done at the LLM layer, and 80% of the work has to be done in the enterprise application layer, which basically means the infrastructure requirements that people are now thinking about are actually maybe emerging differently than what people are thinking about. So I just wanted to put that out there.
I add to Chakri one point. Chakri is correct. It's not just the infrastructure. What is Chakri's point is having the correct data. That is the most important. So otherwise, what are the garbage you're throwing in, you will get the garbage out. So his point is not only the either network or a data centers, having good data, what are the data scientists is required to feed these LLMs, that is more critical.
Sure. See, when people discuss about AI and AI in India, One of the things is we have talent, we have data, we have the demand, but AI cannot scale without a proper backbone. Which infrastructure gaps do we need to finish to complete to become a truly global AI powerhouse, Sylvain?
I think what every countries are investing into is networks are super critical, data center, and in the end, energy. Then there's a battle which is raging with chips, but this is a very hard battle and super hotly competed, which can be a global one. But I think locally, the network infrastructure, data center infrastructure, and energy is critical. And there's a choke point. Now, in some places in the world, we can't build enough data centers because we don't have enough equipment just to equip the power gas, the power generation assets that needs to bring electricity to these things. We are recycling some parts which were used by the airline industry to build aircrafts to bring into those power generation assets to be able to provide that electricity. So there's a sort of physical choke point at this stage to unlock this infrastructure that everyone is looking for.
What is constraint to the India to lead in the AI? I think some of the policies. Is it consumption AI for India, or is India want to be next AI services country? For that, I think a lot more the government help is required, policy is required, how someone can host data in India, and how some of the tax issues pending. Those are the most important to be clear. Otherwise, India has the talent to build data centers most cost effective, surplus power, and we need to build more connectivity, and we have talent. So India has IT talent. How do we make this IT talent to the AI talent? If we can focus this, I think India could be next AI hub.
When you look at this problem from outside, what do you think are the bottlenecks?
I'll focus in on the talent thing a little bit. I think there's a presumption that, for example, AI is going to come and take out all engineering jobs, all coding jobs, etc. What we are finding is actually the requirement for true engineering, thinking about what's going to be possible. Engineering talent, actually higher level engineering talent, is going to become more and more important, where the large language models, the ability to imagine new things, solve newer problems in newer ways. So if you want to win the AI races, I think talent, reskilling, upskilling at a much higher level of the people who are going to win are going to be able to create solve new value creation use cases in different ways. So I think there's a big talent. While we have a lot of skilled people, I think there's a talent upskill required in winning the AI race in the world.
And to build upon what you say, what we are seeing is especially on the architecture side,
Yes.
it's super important to have talent who can architecture those new data infrastructure, agent layer,
Exactly.
make them effective.
Effective.
And here there is massive demand. I think there's another requirement to scale AI, which is having usage of application. You're running application, you need corporations to run those applications.
Yeah.
And on this one, my sense, if I look at India versus other parts of the world, time to usage is short in India. You have super pragmatic and entrepreneurial culture with companies who take whatever is available and up on the job floor immediately.
Speed is,
And that's an asset.
Yes.
Because it makes your country stronger, but it makes also your tech providers stronger. And that's also a key part which I think is super strong in the Indian environment.
The burning question in AI basically is this ROI question. Every CEO I speak to, whether it's cement or it's financial services or media, everyone was talking about, and so 6 to 8 months back, a year back, everyone was talking about basically the POCs, the proof of concept they are running. Now they don't have much enthusiasm regarding AI. So they are doing some concentrated initiatives. So in terms of, if we see from, how do you take it to the next? How do you make AI perform and take it from just POCs to real performance, which will justify the ROI?
See, the way I look at it, the early stage of AI, like running LLMs, and all these things requires much more IT capital.
Yeah.
Is that kind of capital very few countries or few organizations can spend. India, it's very difficult to spend that kind of expenses. That's the reason, people has to understand what transition stage of AI India wants to play the game. So once you look at the LLMs, now use cases. What I look at it, I didn't expose much to China, but there is no other country than India can give the use cases. Look at our Aadhaar, look at our UPI, financial sector, how the transactions are happening, or look at our health sciences, drug discovery, or any FDA approvals required for medical equipment. See, those are the things I see India has to take advantage of AI than, very expensive LLMs. I think that is where your ROI will get benefit. One is it helps you faster, and second is it helps you quality of the organizations, because these are mission critical applications. AI is going to play a big role in India.
So then how do we move from pilots to performance?
I think that's a concern for everyone. There's been some disappointment, as you say, on the return on investment on AI. I think we are seeing a change now, where CEOs from the far east to the west start to feel, okay, it's been done a bit in a distributed way in companies. Now we need to be much more strategic, thoughtful, ambitious. To your point, we need to bring real money. It's not magic. You need to invest to get to some outcome. Latest survey we did, where we had more than 600 CEOs, basically 72% say, I'm the ultimate decision maker in AI, not CIO, not my colleagues. I endorse full responsibility. And on the ROI point, it's interesting. 94% say, if I don't get the ROI in the next 12 months, I'll continue, because I know this is so important for my company and for my job. Because 50% say, my longevity in the job will depend on how successful I am on AI or not. And what's super interesting for India, we also ask, but why do you push? And some CEOs would say, I push because I believe in the impact of AI. And other CEOs say, because I have pressure from my board, I have pressure from my analysts. The more east you go, the more the motivation is positive. I believe in AI. The more west you go, the more this is my board, this is my analyst, capital market who tells me I should be doing that. So we see this shift, and CEOs taking charge. And CEOs, they are truly now upskilling themselves, spending on average 6 hours per week on learning on AI, working deep onto AI topic in companies. So there's a shift here. And in the end, to your point on capital needed, the way they declare is they, on average, expect to double the amount of investment and resources that will be put after AI in 26 versus 25. It's a massive shift due to the fact that no investment, no return. Yeah. Whether you like it or not, right. There's a cost. And the most advanced CEO, they say, we take 75% of the company transformation budget, IT, upskilling, HR, recruiting, everything which is changing the company, 75% pushed towards our AI priorities, not the rest.
Chakri, your business is basically boosting the performance.
Yeah, so
what do you see in terms of mindset of CEOs?
I think a couple of things. You talk about ROI, we need to first start with the question of where is the value leaking. Okay. Yes. For a long time, what's happened is because boards have been asking CEOs, everyone is kind of confused as to what to do. So they just went and started doing a bunch of stuff. Okay. And bunch of stuff was around LLM-based AIs. LLMs as the AI source. It's not that AI has been there in different forms of AI, have been generating a lot of value in companies, whether you think about machine learning based forecasting, about algorithms that are actually generating demand supply matches in companies. The AI has been generating value. The new form of AI, which is generative AI, which has caught on imagination in the public eye, that was used, given all the hype around AI, that was used as a direct tool to make a lot of stuff happen. That has not yielded value. The lesson learned, which we now see, where the combination of LLMs plus the structure of an enterprise, where the knowledge of the enterprise is in the people of the enterprise, the systems of the enterprise, the rules of how you make decisions, those two have to be combined. LLMs can't do that. So right now, 80% of the work is on LLMs, people in the pilots, 20% is in the system. It has to flip. The 20% of the work will be in the LLMs, 80% of the work is how all the current systems and the data and the knowledge have to be retooled. And that realization is coming.
I will add to the Chakri's point. The question you asked before, the foundation. I have my own experience. We have building the data centers for last 25 years, and we are collecting the data for the data centers operations. First, when we started applying AI ops, it didn't work. First is we have a bad data all these years. Chakri's point is we have to have good data first. Second is we have to build a good infrastructure. We broke all the tools which we are using, the BMS tools. So what I'm saying is the projects, why they are not successful early on, I think people jumping and trying to apply AI, not having a proper fundamentals. I see that is the failure. Even my own organization has seen this, and I'll see the people who they don't have the correct data. If you look at it, the banks in India, like when I was talking to Punjab National Bank and all, how much data they have, but can I apply those things for AI? See, unless you invested over the years collecting the data right way and asking a right question, you will get a garbage answer. That is the fundamental issue why these failures happen. But people now getting educated, like Chakri's point, that 80 to 20 shift has to be happen. It's not LLM. We need to find more use cases and how it's going to be applicable to my organization. You need to combine the subject matter expert to the model. It is I consider it is a model plus human. It's model plus machine. It's not completely machine or a human. It should be a hybrid model. That's what I see the progress next thing.
So, I mean, in terms of, if I see, if we look at a failure, I mean, people either say there's a talent problem or there's a data problem. Is there also an infrastructure constraint in this?
Yes, definitely. The kind of the things we broke, the servers and storage, they didn't run these models.
Okay.
Yes, and the kind of the network bandwidth. For example, a country like India, most of the network runs on the telecom network. But if you look at the telecom network designed for voice or some for data, but if you want to run AI model, you need a more bandwidth, and you need to be low latency. You need to have, like the way we are building the data center purpose built for AI, we need to build the network purpose built for AI workloads. Otherwise, you are running your AI models on the telecom network. It's not going to work. Right.
And to the point on data, there is a bit of a shift in the tech strategy of companies, which is in the past, a lot of emphasis was put by CIOs on convergence of platforms and systems. Let's have everything in one place, one platform and everything. And in fact, the payback on these efforts were not that big. It was thin in terms of ROI. And today, with modern infrastructure, modern architecture, much more modular, it's easier to manage complexity. And we see a reinvestment in data quality, to the point that was made, for which there is clearly massive payout, because without that you cannot deploy AI, from convergence to data quality, making sure that the raw material is clean. Another part on you asked about failures, we didn't mention yet, but one raising topics with the deployment of AI is cybersecurity, which you can consider is part of the infrastructure layer at some point. And we see new threats, and new answers to those threats. But I think that there's a need to elevate the game on the cyber side. And part of the answer, of course, is technology, but part of the answer is process organization, training people. And that's a topic which I see becoming bigger and bigger on the agenda of companies.
If you have to create a AI first company 5 years down the lane, it means I have to start allocating capital and also focus and resources there. And then there's a data problem, there is people problem, there is infrastructure problem. How do I do? What do I build first? How do I build? What is the platform on which I build my AI first company? What are the first few steps I need to take?
Yeah, so I think I'll build on what you pointed out. It's very, very relevant. I would take, if you're reimagining the business, right? How are you generating value for the customer and where is value leaking? I think, but you need to reimagine every process using that. So for example, even at O9, we are now saying, okay, if I was to build O9 today, we are now 3,000 people serving a lot of customers across the world. If I was to build O9 today, how would I reimagine every part of my process, right? I'll give you an example. We have 10,000 large enterprise customers that we go after, right? We have to go market to, sell to, deliver value to. And I have a marketing department, I have a sales department. Can an agent do all the analysis? And I'm trying it out myself as a CEO. I'm going to visit a CEO team and a board team. Can the agent do all the analysis of that company? You know, my internal data, the external data that's out there. It's amazing how well I can get informed about what the CEO thinks, what the CFO thinks, everything before I go to that. So now if an agent can do that for one company, can an agent do it for 10,000 companies? And I'm equipped, right? So that's a fundamental reimagination of my entire marketing marketing model. So, but you have until that's proven that it's working, you have an entire organization that's actually working, and you have to you can. That's the thing. That's how do you straddle that, right? Yeah. So that's where your point of that is the key. And then the second part is how do you empower someone within that organization to do that? Because then otherwise it's going to be killed.
On the starting point, because you've been asking the question on how do you start? My experience, we have leadership team of companies, they understand, they listen to Chakri, so they know, okay, value I want to capture is here, here and there, how do I start? To me, the most important decision that the leadership team is doing is who is in charge. Because the person that is in charge to bring that change needs to be capable, needs to have levers on the organization. It cannot be a junior person coming from the startup, cool sneakers everywhere. No, you have to make big change in the organization. And it is someone who is ready to risk their career on this thing. Because you're running manufacturing or God knows what, or an entity for a big conglomerate or whatever. Yes, you'll be measured on P&L, you grow year after year. Let's see where you go. If you're the person who say, okay, I will bring AI to all our manufacturing operations, and I commit we will be improving yield by 2, 3, 4%. You might be a buffoon in the end. And finding the person who is senior, capable, and ready to take that commitment is the hardest part. And very often I see leadership team of companies who in the end, they appoint a small person to do the thing. And everyone has been saying for a long time, start small and scale. My experience is if you start small, you stay small forever.
Exactly.
No budget, no visibility, limited traction in the organization, and it dies.
No, that is exactly, AI is not a project.
Business model transformation.
It is completely, it's not just one project. Give a team to execute. It's a continuous journey and continuous improvements.
But if I see, you've spoken about having the right internal person with enough power and allocation authority to make the change. Second part is also basically you have to deal with a whole lot of outside vendors who will be very important to your transformation journey. Do their roles also have to be rethought?
Yes. So I think fundamentally our philosophy in that is one of the things that AI is doing, for example, if you think of a lot of transformation programs and where value they fail, you implement a system. By the time you implement the system, the business has changed. In a year from now, they don't know how to change the system. So people go back to spreadsheets and processes break down again. So because the systems are too inflexible and not able to evolve. But then you take a digital first company like Amazon. What do? For them, they have internal talent. They think of every process like a product. So they're always continuously improving the process like a product. There's a technical team they don't think of 2-year transformations. They're doing fast, continuous improvement, right? So which means organizations now need that kind of skill, because in a world where things are changing so dynamically, you have to continuously evolve the model.
And they have to set up that intermediate targets. That is also important. It's now you cannot make it. This is a 5-year project, and you need to have 6 months or whatever it is, and a measurable targets. Now you may not achieve that. There is a reason why you don't achieve it also, but that kind of steps also is very important to see the progress. I think we're on the right track. I think ultimately the way I look at it, AI is reaching into the second stage. For me, for especially a country like India, use cases and outcomes. And that is where if you look at AI in enterprises, it's taking off. It's going to take off. If we don't take off, I think there will be trouble. So it's getting into the reality.
Okay. One last question to all the panelists, but not on companies, but on the India strategy. Should India spend money in GPUs and in building, building its own infrastructure, own foundational models, or in user cases, or in wrappers? I mean, how do we play the game so that we can compete with China and US?
That's a tough question.
So let's be.
So I think we looked a bit at the different strategies for different countries. We have countries where there's a clear play about building AI, foundational model, all of that, and the superpowers are doing that. I think there are countries which are out of the race, not at scale, too small, whatever. I think India is intermediary. I think India, with your population, I think in India you have 14% of the total pool of AI talent in the world. It is massive. You have a very forceful government. You can play on different parts of the chain. Will you completely displace foreign technology? I'm not sure, and I'm not sure that should be the objective.
Exactly.
I think you need to have some of your own alternative for specific usage. I think you were mentioning a bit earlier infrastructure dedicated to AI inference. That's a good place, I think, where some countries say, okay, I'm going to build some things here. I think on the consumption, on the application layer, that's a place where there's massive opportunities for countries like India. And I will finish where I started. I think also in terms of building this national level backbone, not just physical, but also the digital infrastructure that is around those one, you have something pretty unique that you can export to the rest of the world.
Yeah. Thank you, gentlemen. Thanks for
Thank
spending
you.
some time out of your busy schedules. Really appreciate it.